Before we begin, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more bedtime stories. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from, and what time it is. And if there's a story you'd like to hear next, I'd love to know that too.
I still think about that night at Redfield Target, the one that almost made me quit retail forever. Before I get into the nightmare itself, I need to explain a bit. Not because I want to waste time, but because if you don't know what my life looked like back then, none of this will feel real. And trust me, it was real. Who I was before that night. My name is Jalen Rowe, and when this happened, I was 20, broke, and just trying to stack up enough money to move out of my mom's house. I was doing community college during the day and working evenings at Target, the one off Redfield Parkway in Minnesota. Not a fancy neighborhood, not a dangerous one either, just normal. I wasn't some scared kid either. I'd done retail for years. Creepy customers? Yeah, been there. Late night weirdos? Sure, but nothing prepared me for the thing that happened in that store. I worked mostly the grocery side, stocking produce, fronting aisles, helping customers find almond milk when it was literally right behind them. You know, the usual. We carried walkies, one of those cheap black radios with the crackly speakers, so we could talk to each other across the store. That damn radio is where everything started. The shift, perfectly normal until it wasn't. It was a Thursday, 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. shift. Usually chill, nothing out of the ordinary. My supervisor, Gwen, checked in on me around 6 p.m. "Yo, Jay, you good on your section?" she asked while scanning a box of canned soup. "Yeah, I'm cruising through it," I said. American casual, like we normally talk. "Cool, 'cause you're closing with me tonight." Closing with Gwen was always easy. She didn't nitpick, didn't micromanage. She just wanted the store clean enough that corporate wouldn't flip. By 9 p.m., the place was quiet. That weird Target quiet where the music feels louder because there are fewer bodies. A few late-night shoppers wandered the aisles. Mostly employees were left. Me, Gwen, and the overnight crew who were clocking in. I was zoning a shelf in aisle G3 when the walkie buzzed. Bzzzt. Jalen switched to channel 3. The voice was male, low, but calm. I assumed it was one of the overnight guys messing around. I switched channels. "Channel 3, Jay here," I said. For about 3 seconds there was nothing, just static. Then I heard it. A laugh. A slow, breathy, drawn-out laugh that felt like it came right from the radio speaker into my ear. Not like someone joking, not like someone trying to be funny. It sounded like the person was way too close to the mic. "Hello?" I said. "Who's on channel 3? No answer. Just breathing now. Heavy, like he was right behind someone. "Okay, real cute, man. Who is this?" Then the man spoke. "Jalen." He stretched my name out like he'd rehearsed it. My stomach dipped. "You doing your closing shift tonight, right?" he said. Deep voice, unnaturally deep, almost like someone forcing it. "Who is this?" I asked again, but I already felt my skin crawl. He chuckled again. "I'm outside, been waiting for you." I rolled my eyes, even though something about the tone felt off. Yeah, funny. Overnight dudes think they comedians now." But the man whispered, "I see your car." My chest tightened. I didn't react on the radio. Didn't want to give him the satisfaction. I turned the walkie off completely and kept working, telling myself it had to be a prank. A few minutes later, Gwen walked past. "You okay?" she asked. "You look like you saw a ghost." "All good," I said. "Just some idiot messing around on the radio." "Probably Tanner," she said, rolling her eyes. "Dude thinks he's Jim Carrey." I laughed, but not because it was funny, because I needed to convince myself everything was normal, but nothing felt normal anymore. Closing time, emptier than usual. At 10 p.m., I clocked out, grabbed my backpack, and headed through the team member exit. The parking lot was quiet. Too quiet. There were maybe 12 cars total. Streetlights buzzing. Cold wind cutting across the asphalt. My car was parked way in the back because the front was full earlier. A dark blue Honda I'd been fixing up since high school. As I walked out, something caught my eye. A car, parked near mine, engine running, lights off. I told myself, again, that Target employees sometimes sat in their cars before leaving. Nothing weird, but when I got closer, the engine revved once, low, deep, like acknowledging me. I froze for a second. "Nah," I whispered. "No way." I kept walking. That's when the car suddenly pulled forward, fast. "Shit," I muttered and rushed the last few feet to my car. I yanked the door open, jumped inside, locked it. The mystery car screeched to a stop next to me, pulling into the opposite-facing spot so its driver's window was parallel to mine, but its windows were pitch black, tinted illegally dark. I couldn't see a face, a silhouette, nothing. I stared forward, pretending I didn't notice. My hands shook as I turned the key. As soon as my engine started, the other car's lights flicked on. Full headlights, blinding. My heart thumped hard. "Not a prank," I whispered. "This ain't a prank." I backed out. He backed out. I drove. He drove. I reached the middle of the lot, the part closest to the store, and I made a split-second decision. I jerked the wheel, swung back toward the Target doors, and parked right between two employee cars. He stopped across the row, about 50 feet away. Still running, I threw my door open and speed-walked toward the entrance. Didn't look back, didn't want to. Inside, my coworker Brady, a chubby, friendly guy from electronics, was near the dollar spot. "Dude, why you back?" he asked. "You forget your wallet?" "No," I said, breath shaking. "There's a freaking car following me." Brady's face dropped. "Wait, what?" I took him to the sliding doors, pointed out the car. It was still there. "Oh, hell no," Brady whispered. Then, right as he said that, the car pulled out, slowly, and disappeared behind the building. Brady exhaled. Bro, that's nuts. I didn't want to go back out. Not yet, but I couldn't stay in Target forever. "Walk me out," I asked. "Yeah, of course." We stepped outside. My eyes darted around the lot. Dead silent again. I made it to my Honda, got in, started the engine. Brady gave a thumbs up and headed back in. I pulled out of the space. That's when I saw headlights, far across the lot, coming from the far corner, facing me, moving toward me. It was the same car. "Jesus Christ," I muttered, panic rising in my throat. I didn't think, I just acted. I swung the wheel hard right and booked it toward the back exit of the lot, the one nobody used because it led to the loading dock road. He sped up. I sped faster. My tires screeched as I peeled out onto the side road behind Target. No traffic, just empty dark road. I cut behind the sporting goods store, heart slamming, breath shaking, hands slippery with sweat. I pulled around the back, into a narrow alley between two dumpsters, turned off my lights, and killed the engine. Dark, silent, hiding. I waited. Every second felt like an hour. I watched the road through my rearview mirror, praying not to see headlights. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, nothing. Finally, I breathed. I made a silent promise to myself. If I got home alive, I was requesting morning shifts only. After 10 minutes, I turned the car back on, pulled out slowly, and took the long way home, checking my mirrors every few seconds. No car, no headlights, no deep-voiced psycho on my walkie, but the entire drive, it felt like someone was still watching. The part that haunts me. The next day, I asked Gwen about Channel 3. "We don't even use Channel 3, she said. "Store policy is 1 and 2 only." I froze. So who the hell talked to me? She didn't have an answer. Neither did security. Neither did the store manager. They checked the cameras. Saw my car, saw the other car. But the license plate was unreadable. It never came back again, as far as I know. I kept working at Target, switched to mornings, but every time I walked to my car after sunset, every time I heard a deep laugh in a movie, every time someone said my name in that stretched out way, my chest tightened, because I know that voice. I know that laugh. And worse, I know he wasn't messing around. He meant it. Every word, every breath through that radio. He was waiting for me. And I still don't know how he knew my name. I never thought a late Target run would leave this kind of mark on me. But before I jump to the part that still shakes me up, I should explain something about who I am and why I ended up there that night. My name is Averin Cole, 27 years old, and for the last few months I'd been working a lot. Too much, honestly. I live in Hill Spring, Oregon. Not exactly a big city, but big enough to always feel like something is happening somewhere. I worked remote tech support from home, so often I'd go days barely stepping outside. My therapist kept telling me to rebalance and reconnect with the physical world, but I didn't want to go hiking or running or any of that. My way of reconnecting was simpler: grocery stores. I know it sounds dumb, but wandering aisles calm my mind. Something about the lights, the order, the hum of refrigerators, it grounded me. And Target, especially the one on Maplewood Drive, always felt safe, clean, predictable. At least, I thought it was predictable. That Thursday night, I had gone out because my fridge was nearly empty, and I wanted to get cleaning supplies too. Nothing special. I grabbed my keys around 7:45 p.m. and headed out. The parking lot was about half full when I arrived. A chill breeze hit me as I stepped out of my car, the kind that made your hoodie feel too thin, but your jacket too much. Inside, the air smelled like popcorn from the snack counter. A couple employees were walking around, some zoning shelves, others helping the last-minute shoppers. It felt normal, too normal maybe. I grabbed a cart and started down the grocery aisles. The store wasn't busy, just a handful of people scattered around. I noticed one employee though, mainly because he moved differently than the rest. Everyone else was casual, slow, kind of tired from the shift. But this guy walked with purpose, fast, focused, almost too focused. He had messy black hair, a thin build, and a Target polo that looked slightly wrinkled. His name tag read Grayson. I remember thinking, that's a unique name. Haven't seen him here before. Anyway, I didn't think much of him at the time. Employees float between stores or get hired all the time. I continued shopping. Milk, some frozen meals, paper towels, toothpaste. I wasn't rushing. I liked the quiet. That store always had this soft music playing, something instrumental that made everything feel calm. But around 8:30, the aisles started emptying out even more. Not unusual, but the vibe shifted. The noises felt softer. The store felt bigger somehow. And I kept feeling like someone was walking behind me, even though every time I turned, no one was there. I just chalked it up to paranoia and kept going. Eventually, as I rounded the end of the home goods aisle, I nearly bumped into someone. "Whoa, sorry," the man said. It was Grayson, the employee. He smiled politely, a little too polite. His eyes seemed friendly but intense, observant. "You good, man?" he asked. "You look like you're searching for something." "Oh, nah," I said. "Just grabbing a few things. Appreciate it though." "You sure? We got a big sale going on. Cleaner stuff, seasonal aisle, all that. I can point you if you want." His tone was normal. His body language was relaxed. Nothing about that interaction screamed danger. But the way he kept looking at me, a half second too long, that I noticed. "I'm all right," I said. "But thanks." He nodded slowly. "Yeah, no problem. If you need anything, I'll be around." He walked past me and disappeared into the next aisle. I didn't see him again after that, not inside the store. I finished up, checked out at one of the self-checkout stations, and headed outside with 2 bags and a 12-pack of sparkling water. The air outside felt colder now. The parking lot lights hummed. A few cars left. A few remained. Everything felt so open and too quiet. I walked toward my car, 3rd row from the entrance, far side. I always parked near the back to avoid door dings. Adjusting that 12-pack under my arm, I popped open my trunk. That's when I heard footsteps, fast ones, coming toward me. I turned so quickly I almost dropped my bags. And there he was, Grayson, except he wasn't dressed like before. No polo, no name tag, no khakis. He wore gray sweatpants, black sneakers, and a dark hoodie with the hood up. "What the hell?" I muttered under my breath. He lifted a hand, like he didn't want to scare me. "Hey, sorry, don't freak out." My stomach tightened. He looked almost like a different person, but it was definitely him. Hey," I said cautiously. "Thought you were working?" "Huh." He smiled. "Nah, man, I don't work here." My heart rate spiked. "No, dude. You talked to me inside like 15 minutes ago." He shook his head lightly. "Not me. Must have been someone else." I felt this cold rush of confusion. I wasn't mistaken. I knew his face. He stepped closer. Not aggressively, just close enough to make my warning senses scream. "Look," he said, "I know this is weird, but could you give me a ride? Just a couple blocks. My ride bailed on me and my phone died." He held up his phone, dark screen. Something in his tone wasn't right. It was too rehearsed, too calm. "I can't," I said quickly. "Sorry." He didn't move. "Come on, man," he insisted. "It's literally like 3 minutes away, I swear." I shook my head. "No, I'm sorry, I can't help." He stared at me for a moment, long, unblinking, then took half a step closer. "You sure?" His voice dropped slightly. "It's cold as hell out here." That's when I realized it. The hoodie he was wearing wasn't zipped. Under it, he had on a dark red shirt, the exact same color as the Target uniform shirt. I said firmly, "I'm leaving now." I started putting my bags in the trunk faster, keeping one eye on him. He took another small step. "Hey, relax, dude. I'm not weird or anything. I just need a quick lift." "You're making this weird," I snapped. "Back up." He tilted his head. "Or what?" That's when instinct kicked in. I slammed the trunk shut, rushed into the driver's seat, and locked the doors. He walked right up to my driver's side window. "Dude, just roll it down," he said, tapping the glass with 2 fingers. "We can talk." "No," I said loudly, shaking. He stared inside the car, eyes scanning everything. My hands, the empty passenger seat, the keys shaken between my fingers. Then his expression changed. He smiled, a slow, unsettling smile. "Okay," he said softly. "Be safe." I watched him in the side mirror as I pulled out. He didn't walk toward the store or toward the road. He just stood there, watching me, not moving. As I drove off the lot, I looked back once more. He was gone, gone like he was never there. But I know what I saw, and I know what happened inside that store. Someone pretending to be an employee, someone watching me, someone changing clothes in minutes, someone who wanted me alone in my car. I still shop at Target, but not that one, not at night. And sometimes, when I'm grabbing a cart and hear the squeak of wheels, or when someone turns a corner too quickly, I get a little chill down my spine because I keep seeing his face, that polite smile, that hoodie, that denial. And all I keep wondering is, why me? Why that night? And what would have happened if I unlocked the door? I never thought anything strange would ever happen to me at my Target job. I mean, it's Target, right? Bright lights, red shirts, customers asking where the laundry detergent is. Not exactly the kind of place where your heart races or where you start double-checking door locks at night. But looking back now, man, I should have noticed the sign so much earlier. Before I get into what happened, let me tell you a bit about myself back then. My name is Ira. I'm 23 now, but at the time of all this, I was 21 and trying to get my life together. I had just moved to Waverly Springs, a mid-sized town outside Portland. Rent was expensive, my savings were thin, and Target was the one place that called me back after 20 applications. I worked mostly in women's clothing, folding jeans, organizing clearance racks, and answering the same 5 questions every day. Do you guys price match? Where's the fitting room? Is this on sale? Can I speak to a manager? And the classic, do you have this in a medium? The job wasn't glamorous, but it paid my rent and kept me moving. And honestly, I kinda liked it. The co-workers were decent, the managers mostly chill, and working nights meant fewer screaming toddlers sprinting across the store. But then there was one guy, one co-worker who turned everything upside down. His name was Edric. People just called him Ed, and he worked in electronics. Skinny guy, always wearing this faded beanie even though we weren't supposed to. He had these pale gray eyes that felt like they were staring through you instead of at you. He wasn't rude at first, just weirdly intense. He wasn't someone I ever planned to talk to outside of work, but life had other plans. 2. The break room, where it really started. It was a Thursday night, around 9:10 p.m. We were slow, the store was dead, and I was exhausted. I went to take my break in the upstairs break room, this tiny space with humming vending machines and mismatched chairs. Usually there were at least 2 or 3 people in there, but that night, it was empty. I heated up my leftover pasta, scrolled through my phone, and enjoyed the quiet. Then the door opened. Ed walked in. He smiled like he was surprised to see me, even though I swear he wasn't. "Oh, hey, Ira," he said, dropping into the chair across from me. "Didn't know you were up here." I nodded politely. "Yeah, just taking me break." "What department you in again?" he asked. "Clothing. I've seen you around electronics." Right, he said, snapping his fingers softly like he'd just solved a puzzle. "You're the one who always folds everything perfect. Like dead perfect." I kinda laughed awkwardly. "I mean, I try." He stared at me a little too long, then leaned back. "You seem cool," he said. "We should hang out sometime." I froze for a second because he said it so early into knowing me. "Oh, maybe," I said, trying to be polite. Ed grinned, and it made me weirdly uneasy. "I could come by your place," he said casually. "We could chill." No, I said quickly. "I don't usually have people over, and my apartment's kinda messy." He didn't take the hint. He just tilted his head and studied me like he was memorizing the shape of my face. "That's cool," he said slowly. "We'll figure something out." For the rest of my break, he talked, and I listened. Or pretended to. He rambled about video games, how he hated one of the managers, how he didn't get along with people from his old job. I kept checking my phone, hoping time would speed up. When my break ended, I practically jumped up from the chair. "Gotta go," I said. "Have a good night." "You too," he answered softly. When I walked away, I swear I could still feel his eyes on my back. 3. He wouldn't stop talking to me over the next 2 weeks. Ed started finding excuses to come to my side of the store. He'd show up by the fitting rooms, pretending he needed to ask something, or he'd pretend he's checking a price for a customer, or he'd walk past and just stand there. "Hey, Ira." "What's up, Ira?" "Ira, you got a sec?" I tried to stay professional, but he kept pushing. 2 days later. "You ever think about moving closer to work? You got family nearby? You live alone?" That last one made my stomach drop. "Why?" I said. He shrugged with a smile. "Just trying to get to know you." That night on my drive home, I told myself he was just awkward. A little clingy maybe, but harmless. But the truth, I didn't believe that even then. Phooey, he got fired. And that should have been the end. One Monday afternoon, I walked into work and heard two girls whispering near the punch clock. "Did you hear about Ed?" "Yeah, he's out." Dude, finally. I didn't ask what happened. Nobody explained. But honestly, I didn't care. I was relieved. I thought that was it. Problem solved, done. For the next week, no weird conversations, no awkward staring, just normal Target life. And then, he texted me. At first, I didn't recognize the number. Unknown number. "Hey, Ira, it's Ed." I just stared at it thinking, how the hell did he get my number? Then I remembered the stupid group chat Target had for scheduling. Everyone's number was visible, even fired employees who never got removed. I typed back, "Me, hey, how'd you get my number?" He didn't answer that. Instead, he said, "Ed, I'm gonna come by your place." My stomach dropped and all the blood rushed to my face. Me, "No, please don't come to my house, Ed. I don't think we should hang out." No reply. Hours passed. I tried to convince myself he was just being weird, not dangerous. Maybe he'd cool off. God, I was wrong. Around 9 p.m., my phone buzzed. "Ed, I'm at your house." My heart started pounding fast. Panic fast. I lived alone, first floor, sliding door in the back. I checked the peephole. No one. I checked the back window. Nothing. Maybe he was lying. Maybe he was messing with me. "Me? I'm not home." He replied instantly. "Ed, yeah, you are. I saw you. My legs went weak. I locked every door, every window. I checked the bathroom, the closet, under the bed. Nothing." I texted him again. "Me, where are you?" "Ed, at your house." I didn't know what that meant. Was he outside? Was he somewhere in the building? Was he messing with me? I went back to the peephole, stared through it for a full minute. Nothing. I turned around, and he was standing on my patio, his face pressed against the sliding glass door, fogging it with his breath, staring directly at me. I screamed, loud. I sprinted into my bedroom and locked the door, trembling so hard I almost dropped my phone. I dialed 911 with shaking hands. The dispatcher answered. 911, what's your emergency? My coworker, my ex-coworker. He's at my back door. He's trying to get in. Please send someone, please. The woman kept me calm, or tried to. Stay on the line. Officers are on the way. Then I heard it. The knocking. Soft at first, then harder, then banging. "IRA," he yelled through the glass. "Why did you scream? Let me in." My phone buzzed with his texts. "Why won't you open the door? I just want to talk. Let me in. Why aren't you answering me?" The banging grew louder. The dispatcher said, "I hear the banging. Stay in the room." I backed into the corner, crying, shaking, unable to catch my breath. Then, silence. For a second I thought he left. Then I heard police sirens, voices outside, male voices arguing. I cracked open my bedroom door. 2 officers were on my patio, flashlights out. Ed stood with his hands raised, yelling, "I didn't do anything. She told me to come. She told me." I stepped into the hall, watching from the corner. The officers made him step away from the door. Their lights pinned him like a spotlight. One of them called out, "Ma'am, are you all right?" I nodded shakily. Ed stared at me with a face I will never forget. Not angry, not sad, just disappointed, like I had betrayed him. They removed him from the property, trespassed him, warned him not to come back. I gave my statement, shaken the whole time, trying not to cry. When the police left, I locked everything, checked it 3 more times, then sat in the middle of my floor until morning. I never saw Ed again. Never heard from him again either. But for weeks after, I couldn't sleep without the lights on. And sometimes, even now, I still get chills when I pass a sliding glass door at night, because I'll never forget the look on his face, pressed against the glass, staring in, like he already lived there, like he thought I belonged to him. I never thought a simple late-night run to Target would turn into the one memory that still wakes me up sweating, heart pounding, stomach twisted, like I'm dropping from a roller coaster. Before I tell you what happened that night, I need to explain something about myself, because none of this will feel real unless you understand where my head was at back then. My name is Jalen Roach. I'm 26 now, but last year I was 25, freshly moved to a small town outside of Evergreen, Michigan, trying to start over after a pretty rough breakup and a job loss that hit me harder than I ever admitted. My dad used to tell me, "Son, when life hits you, don't curl up, hit back." But honestly, I wasn't hitting back at anything. I was just drifting. I worked remote customer support for a small tech startup. Night shifts sometimes, weird hours, nothing exciting. And Target, about 5 minutes from my apartment, became the one place that felt normal, safe, predictable. The red lights, the quiet aisles, the late-night workers stocking shelves with headphones on. You know how some places make you feel like everything's fine even when you're falling apart inside? For me, that was Target, and that makes what happened feel so much worse. The night it started, it was a Tuesday in late October, cold enough that your breath looked like smoke, but not cold enough for snow yet. My fridge was empty, and I had one of those headaches you get when your whole day has been off. So I grabbed my keys around 10:15 p.m. and headed out. I always went late because fewer people were there, and honestly, I just liked the quiet. I parked in the back row near a lamp that flickered every 5 seconds. I remember thinking, someone should fix that, then laughed because it wasn't my problem. Inside was the same vibe as always, music low, maybe 8 or 9 shoppers total, employees pushing carts of boxes. Familiar, safe. I grabbed a cart and said, "Hey, what's up?" to one of the employees I kind of recognized. Kira, I think. She nodded. "Long night, dude?" "Yeah," I said, "just grabbing some groceries." "Stick to the front aisles," she muttered. "They're doing inventory in the back. It's loud as hell." I smiled, thanked her, and went about my business. Everything was normal, totally normal, for a while. The first strange thing, I was in the home goods section, comparing 2 different sets of cheap LED light strips for my desk, when I heard footsteps behind me. Slow, dragging footsteps. Not like a tired employee, not like a casual shopper, just off. I turned, expecting to see someone awkwardly trying to get past me, but instead, the aisle was empty, completely empty. "Okay," I whispered, "that's weird." I shrugged it off. Maybe the sound echoed from the next aisle. Happens all the time. But then, I caught something out of the corner of my eye. A shadow, human-sized, moving at the end of the aisle. I walked forward, leaned out to see if maybe someone needed help or was trying to grab something from the top shelf. But nobody was there. I even said quietly, "Hello, you good?" Silence. So I just shook my head, grabbed my groceries, and checked out like normal. The parking lot. I walked out into the cold night, breath visible, arms full of bags. The parking lot felt emptier than usual, like the world had gone on mute. That flickering lamp above my car buzzed softly, and the air smelled like wet pavement. My car, a silver 2014 Honda Accord, was maybe 30 feet away, and that's when something in me tightened. A gut feeling, a squeeze in the chest. Something was wrong. My car looked off, like someone had touched it. Maybe it was just paranoia. I'd been stressed, burnt out, tired. I told myself to stop being dramatic. But when I stepped behind the car, ready to open the back door, I froze because someone was looking at me through the rear window. A man, his face pale, eyes wide, like he'd been caught doing something he shouldn't. And then, he ducked down, fast, too fast. I dropped my bag so hard the groceries spilled everywhere and ran, full sprint, back to the sliding entrance doors. "Yo!" an employee yelled, startled, as I rushed past him. I didn't stop. My legs were shaking, my throat tight. Calling 911. Inside, I grabbed my phone with trembling hands and dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? There's a man in my car, I said, voice cracking. At the Evergreen Target parking lot. He was in my back seat. He ducked down when he saw me. The dispatcher asked for details, and I tried to describe what little I saw. Pale face, dark hair, wearing a tan hoodie or jacket. Honestly, I didn't know. It was too fast. Stay inside, she said. Officers are on the way. I waited by the front of the store, not all the way out, not all the way in, just standing there, heart pounding. And then, while I was staring at the entrance, the sliding doors opened and a man walked in. Dark hair, tan hoodie, mid-20s. My stomach dropped. Holy, I whispered. It looked like him. It really looked like him. He didn't look at me, didn't slow down. He just walked straight to the right, gripping something in his pocket. I ducked into the first aisle, my breath shaky, my hands numb. Officers are pulling in now, the dispatcher said. I stepped out carefully, saw the red and blue lights outside, and felt the tiniest bit safer. 2 officers approached me as soon as I stepped outside. Sir, you're the one who called? Yes, that's me. We walked to my car. The back door was open, wide open. No one was inside, nothing was stolen, but every door was unlocked. I swear I locked it, I said. The officer shrugged. Happens a lot more than people admit. No, I said firmly. I always lock it. Another officer radioed in about the guy inside the store, but after 10 minutes of checking, they found nothing. He must have slipped out, they said. You're free to head home. We'll patrol the area. So I got in my car, still shaking. The seat felt cold, like someone had been sitting there moments earlier. The way home was simple. Drive past Target, turn right onto a service road that led toward my apartment complex. Quiet road, barely any lights. I drove maybe a quarter mile before I saw him. The man, walking along the side of the road. There was no sidewalk, no reason for anyone to walk there. As I got closer, he turned his head sharply and locked eyes with me. And then, he sprinted toward the road, straight toward my car. Shit! I swerved right, heart lodged in my throat. He got so close I heard his shoes slap the pavement. He reached out like he was trying to grab my door handle. I sped past him, hands sweaty, chest tight. He stood in the middle of the road behind me, watching my car disappear. I called the police again. They said they'd send someone. I didn't wait. I just drove home, parked, ran inside, locked everything, and sat there in the dark, shaken. For weeks I couldn't go back to that Target. I took different routes home. I double-checked behind me every time I got in the car. And the worst part? They never found him. No ID, no cameras catching him clearly. Nothing. Like he wasn't real. But I know what I saw. I know he was in my car. I know he chased me. And sometimes, even now, I swear I see someone walking behind me when I'm heading to my car at night. Same height, same hoodie, same walk. Maybe it's paranoia. Maybe not. All I know is, some people don't break into cars to steal anything. Some people break in because they want to wait for someone. They want you. And I still wonder what would have happened if I had opened that back door. What he wanted. Or who else he's done this to. Because that look in his eyes, that cold, shaking, hungry look, wasn't random. He knew me, or thought he did. And sometimes, when I'm half asleep, drifting off, I swear I hear that same dragging footstep behind me in my apartment hallway. But when I check, there's nothing. Just my own breath. Just silence. Just the memory of that man staring at me through the glass. I always tell people that Target wasn't just a job for me, it was practically the place I grew up. I started there when I was 16, scanning barcodes, double bagging milk, learning to say, "Hey, how's it going?" with a smile even when I was dead tired from school. Through high school, college, breakups, finals, and everything in between, those wide red aisles felt more familiar than my own apartment. By the time this story happened, I'd spent 8 years inside that store, first as a cashier, then guest services, then team lead, and finally a manager. I knew every square foot, every squeaky wheel on every cart, every flickering panel in the ceiling lights. I liked it that way, predictable, safe, but safety can end in one night, and for me, it started on a Thursday. It was around 7:10 p.m., the part of the night when the after-work rush slows down and the store sinks into that calm post-dinner hum. Our store in Redwood Bay, Washington wasn't huge, but we did enough business to keep the evenings lively. That night, though, something felt weirdly still. I brushed that off. Managers don't get to be superstitious. We get to be tired. I walked past the check lanes, nodding at Kendra, one of our cashiers, who was fighting with a printer jam. "Hey," she said, exasperated, "this thing hates me." "It hates everyone," I replied, opening the drawer. "Give me 10 seconds." While I fixed the jam, my walkie crackled. "Hey, front manager, can you head to, aisle 34? The team member sounded nervous. "Copy," I said. "What's going on?" "Not sure. Chloe needs a manager, and Tim's already with her." My stomach tightened. That tone isn't used for price checks. I handed the receipt to Kendra, forced a smile, and walked fast. When I reached aisle 34, the home decor aisle, I saw Chloe, one of our Softlines team members, standing with Tim and a guy I had never seen before. Tall, maybe late 30s, scruffy beard, baseball cap pulled low. Something about his posture was off. Too tense, too wired. Chloe looked shaken. Tim looked pissed. As soon as I approached, Tim spoke first. "He's been following her around the store, around every aisle she goes." The man barked immediately. "That's bullshit. I wasn't following anybody. I'm shopping, man. Do you see a crime in that?" His voice was loud enough that a couple of guests poked their heads around the aisle. I put my hands up slightly. "Sir, let's talk calmly. What seems to be the—" "Oh, don't sir me," he snapped, stepping closer. "She's making up crap, and now you're here to back her up? You don't even know what happened." Chloe's voice cracked. "You stared at me for minutes. You walked right behind me everywhere I went." "Liar!" he shouted. I stood between them, not aggressively, but firm. "Sir, if you continue yelling at my team member, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." He clenched his jaw. His eyes were off, dilated. Not just drunk, something else. The kind of look you see in people who aren't fully in reality anymore. "No, I'm not going anywhere," he snapped. "I didn't do anything." I kept my voice level. "I'm not going to argue. You can leave on your own, or I call PD." For a second, I thought he was going to swing. He stared at me, breathing hard, fist tightening. Then he stepped back, spat on the floor, and muttered, "Yeah, whatever. You idiots don't even know who you're messing with." He stormed toward the front, but before leaving, he turned and screamed a full string of curses at me, loud enough to echo. "Terrible manager, you hear me? Terrible, I'll sue your ass. The whole store." Guests froze. Chloe flinched. Tim moved in front of her protectively. I stood still. After 12 years in retail, I thought I'd seen everything. I was wrong. Once he left, I exhaled, tension draining out of my shoulders. "You good?" I asked Chloe softly. She nodded, though her voice shook. He kept staring at me like he knew me. Every time I moved, he followed. I even switched departments, and he still came. Tim added, "I saw him trail her twice. Dude wasn't shopping at all. He didn't even hold anything." They both looked rattled, and honestly, so was I. We talked another 10 minutes, making sure they felt safe. I told them to stick together and stay in more populated parts of the store. Just as I was about to return to the front, my walkie crackled again. "Hey, Devin, cart attendant here. We've got something happening outside. You might want to come quick." His voice sounded urgent. I felt my pulse jump. What is it? There's a car flying through the lot, like crazy fast. I met our cart attendant, Matt, by the sliding doors. Dude, he whispered, pointing outward. Look. Out in the dim parking lot, a gray Honda was ripping up and down the aisles, tires screeching, engine screaming. It wasn't just speeding, it was swerving, almost drifting between parked cars. Jesus Christ, I muttered. The car shot down one row, swung violently, then blasted up the next. Headlights flashing over empty carts, asphalt, red bollards. Anyone outside? I asked. No, thank God. I immediately walked to the doors, blocking guests from leaving. Hey folks, just hold on for a sec, I said, raising a hand. We've got a reckless driver outside. PD's on the way. A couple of guests peeked outside. One whispered, "Damn, that guy's gonna kill someone." I called 911 right there. Yeah, this is Devin, manager at Redwood Bay Target. We've got a vehicle doing extremely dangerous laps in our parking lot. Looks intoxicated. Please send officers immediately. While I talked, the car screeched down another lane. Then, bang! It hit a parked SUV. Metal crunched. The SUV rocked backward. The gray Honda jerked forward a few feet, smoke drifting from under the hood. Every guest behind me gasped. Then the driver's door opened, and my blood ran cold. It was him, the same man who'd harassed Chloe. He stumbled out of the car, looked around wildly, then took off running, straight across the lot toward a strip of restaurants. "Is that the same dude?" a guest shouted. "Yeah," I said grimly. "That's him." PD arrived within minutes. 6 cars, lights painting the store red and blue. Officers spread out, some taking statements, others sprinting after the man. I stayed with Chloe and Tim while they talked to police. Chloe was shaking. "I knew something was off," she whispered. "His eyes, it felt like he wasn't fully there." Tim nodded. "Yeah, dude looked wired." Guests slowly filtered out once it was safe. A few thanked us for keeping them inside. About 15 minutes later, an officer returned. "Suspects in custody," he said. "He didn't get far, appears to be intoxicated. Could be drugs, could be both. We're running tests." I let out a slow breath. "Anyone hurt?" "No injuries, just property damage." Relief washed over me, but so did something else. A cold, lingering dread. Because if Chloe hadn't confronted him, if Tim hadn't stepped in, if he had stayed in the store, God knows what would have happened. Retail workers joke a lot about Karens, about coupon battles, about customers who argue over 39 cents. But nights like this remind you that real danger can walk right through those automatic doors. And sometimes, it stares at you from across an aisle for 30 seconds straight. We closed at 10 that night, but none of us left right away. Chloe sat in the break room sipping water while I filled out the incident report. Tim stayed with her, cracking light jokes just to keep her from shaking. When we finally locked the doors, she looked at me and said quietly, "Thank you for stepping in." "You did the hard part," I told her. "You trusted your instincts." She nodded. "Yeah, I've had creepy guests before, but he felt different, like something was wrong with his mind." Tim added, "Dude wasn't just creepy, he was dangerous." I looked out at the empty parking lot, the cracked pavement, the faded parking lines, the dented SUV still sitting there. Target felt different that night. Not unsafe, but no longer the predictable, calm place I grew up in. I realized something I'd somehow forgotten. Even normal places can turn terrifying the second the wrong person walks in. And that night, he did. I grew up in Pine Brook, Ohio, a quiet little suburb where people left their garage doors half open and trusted the neighborhood kids to cut through their lawns on the way to school. My house sat near the edge of town, where the backyard started blending into patches of woods and half-finished walking trails the city promised to complete soon for like 10 years straight. Back then, I was 16, still living with my parents and my older sister, Jenna, who was 18 and thought she was everyone's supervisor. That summer felt endless. Humid nights, buzzing cicadas, the smell of grilled food drifting through open windows. My routine was simple: sleep late, help with chores only after getting yelled at, and binge watch shows in my room until I passed out. That was the summer everything changed, and it all started with something so small I almost ignored it at first. A light. A tiny, flickering light in our backyard. But let me back up, because none of this will make sense unless I explain what kind of person I was back then. Who I was before that night. I wasn't a troublemaker, but I wasn't a goody two-shoes either. My parents always joked that I lived in my own world, and honestly, they weren't wrong. I liked being alone. I liked watching people more than talking to them. Not in a creepy way, just observing. I noticed things that others didn't. A crooked smile, a shift in tone, someone hesitating before answering a simple question. I also had trouble sleeping. Not nightmares or anything, just this weird buzzing in my chest whenever the house went quiet. So most nights, I'd stay up late watching YouTube or TF2 streams or whatever show I was into at the time. One place I went to a lot, more often than I'd ever admit, was Target. It wasn't even for shopping. I liked walking around late in the evening when it wasn't crowded. Something about the bright aisles made me feel awake. And the smell, fresh plastic mixed with popcorn from the little cafe, was comforting. I knew almost every employee by face, but not by name, except one, Alden. He was maybe around my age. Short brown curls, quiet, always stocking the tech aisle like he wished he were invisible. We never talked, just exchanged those little nods strangers give each other after seeing each other 5 times in a row. Nothing about him felt strange back then. Nothing. I keep thinking about that now, because after that night I realized some people are only invisible because they want to be. The night it started, it was around 1:45 a.m., a humid July night, the kind where your sheets stick to your legs no matter how many times you flip the pillow. I was watching a show, some crime documentary, half zoned out but not tired. My room looked out over the backyard, which stretched pretty far into the tree line. We had motion lights out there, but they were old and flickered whenever a raccoon twitched its tail. I'd seen the lights flicker before. I knew the pattern, but what I saw that night wasn't the normal flicker. It was steady, small, like someone was holding a phone flashlight. At first, I thought Jenna was sneaking outside to smoke. She always denied smoking, but her strawberry mint gum fooled literally no one. But the light wasn't moving, and Jenna would never stand still. I muted my TV. The house was silent. My parents were asleep. Jenna was asleep. The light shone from the back corner of our yard near the fence. So I got out of bed, walked closer to the window, and my stomach dropped. There was someone standing in our yard. A person, not a shadow, not an animal, a person. And they weren't holding a flashlight. They were just standing there. The light was coming from the neighbor's yard, faintly spilling over them, enough to outline their shape. They wore a red shirt, tan pants, and even from that distance, I recognized the uniform, a Target employee uniform. I remember whispering out loud, "Dude, what the hell?" The person wasn't moving, just facing our house, like they were watching it, watching me. My legs felt like cement. My mind went blank. Was this someone I knew? A kid messing around? A lost worker coming from the store? Target closed at 10. Who the hell stands in someone's backyard at 2 a.m. wearing a red shirt and khakis? I grabbed my phone, thinking I'd call my dad, but then the figure moved, just a step, but enough that the porch light from the neighbor's house lit up his face, and my blood froze, because the face was familiar. It was Alden, the quiet kid from Target, Except, he wasn't looking at the house. He was looking directly at my window, at me, like he knew exactly where I'd be. I dropped to the floor instinctively. My heart was slamming in my chest. Okay, think, I whispered. I crawled to my bedroom door and cracked it open. The hallway was pitch black. I whispered, "Dad?" Nothing. For a second, I almost convinced myself I had imagined the whole thing. That maybe it was a shadow or a kid wearing red clothes. But then the motion light in our yard clicked on. I flinched, and as the yard lit up, I saw him again, standing closer. He had moved maybe 10 or 15 feet toward the house. He was now standing near the old picnic table. His hands were at his sides. No phone, no flashlight, just staring. I didn't think. I just acted. I ran downstairs, trying not to make noise but failing miserably because my legs were shaking. I reached the dining room, flicked on the back patio light, and instantly ducked behind the counter. The bulb popped on, flooding the yard with yellow light. I held my breath. 5 seconds passed, 10, 15. I slowly peeked up over the counter, and my heart nearly stopped. Alden had turned. He wasn't looking at the house now. He was looking at the light, at the window, right where I was. For a second, I swear he smirked. Then he began walking, slowly, toward the side fence. Not running, not startled. Just walking away like he had finished whatever he came to do. And then he disappeared behind the trees. I stayed crouched there long after he was gone, long after the motion lights reset, long after my breathing slowed. When I finally got the courage to go upstairs, I checked my window again. Nothing. The yard looked completely normal. Too normal. The next morning, I barely slept. Maybe an hour. At breakfast, my mom looked at my face and said, "You look like you died and came back. What's going on?" Jenna laughed. "He probably stayed up watching murder shows again." "Actually," I started, feeling stupid but also terrified. "I think someone was in our backyard last night." My dad lowered his newspaper. "What do you mean, someone?" So I told them everything. Well, most of it. I didn't mention that I recognized Alden. Not because I wanted to protect him. I just wasn't sure. Maybe it wasn't him. Maybe my brain connected dots that weren't there. When I finished, my mom sighed. "Probably just some drunk kid cutting through the yards. Don't scare yourself." My dad nodded. "I'll check the backyard after work." And that was that. Just like that, the whole thing became a weird story instead of a threat. But I couldn't shake the feeling he had been staring at me intentionally. Watching. Waiting. For what? 2 weeks later, life went back to normal. Or at least it looked like it did. But every night before turning off my lamp, I checked the backyard. Every rustle made me flinch. Every stray light made my chest tighten. About 2 weeks later, on a Saturday afternoon, I went to Target with Jenna. She needed makeup, I needed snacks. The store was packed, kids screaming, parents arguing about cereal prices. The usual. I tried to focus on the shelves, but every red shirt I saw made my stomach twist. At one point, while walking toward the checkout lanes, I froze. Because I saw him, not far away, not close, but enough that I recognized the curls, the posture, the uniform. Alden. He was straightening a display near the front of the store. I didn't want to stare, but my eyes locked onto him automatically, and that was all it took. He noticed me. His hands stopped moving. His shoulders stiffened. Then, very slowly, he turned fully toward me. Our eyes met, and I swear on everything, his expression changed. Not angry, not scared, almost like annoyance, like he was thinking, "You weren't supposed to see me." Then he immediately turned and walked away, disappearing behind a wall of end caps. I didn't wait for anything else. "Jenna, I'm going to the car," I said. "What? Dude, seriously? We just got here. Just meet me out there when you're done." She rolled her eyes, thinking I was just being weird. I practically power walked through the automatic doors, scanning my surroundings the whole way. I sat in the passenger seat with the doors locked, staring at the entrance. He never came out. I never saw him again. Not outside, not inside Target, not anywhere. Every time I went to that store afterward, I looked for him. No one had even heard of him when I casually asked an employee if a kid named Alden worked there. Heard of who? They'd say. Or, we don't have anyone by that name. I still don't know if that was true. Was he fired? Did he quit? Was he using a fake name? Or was he never supposed to be there in the first place? Why I still think about him. It's been years. I'm older. I moved states. I barely recognize the person I was back then. But sometimes, late at night, when I'm trying to sleep, a thought creeps into my head. What if Alden wasn't just some creepy Target kid? What if he was watching me long before I ever noticed? And what if, on that night, he wasn't standing in my backyard, but walking away from the house? What if I didn't catch him approaching? What if I caught him leaving? I'll never know, but sometimes, when I'm up late and my room is dark, I swear I can feel someone watching me from outside. It's probably nothing, just old fear echoing back. But I still check the backyard, every single night, just in case. I never expected a part-time job to follow me this far into adulthood, but it's weird how certain memories decide to stick around. Back then, when all this happened, I was barely 19 and working at a Target off Willow Creek Road in a small town outside Phoenix. My position wasn't glamorous. I was a cart attendant or cart guy, depending on who you asked. The name never mattered. I just needed the paycheck. I was the kind of kid who didn't go out much. My mom used to tell me, "You gotta stop living like you're 40 when you're not even 20 yet." Maybe she was right. I didn't party, didn't smoke, didn't get into trouble. I liked quiet routines. Clock in, push carts, carry out TVs, clean up the front lanes, clock out. That's it. Back then, I had two co-workers I talked to the most. Riley, a dude with messy blonde hair who always smelled like laundry detergent, and Jenna, one of the sweetest people I ever met, who worked guest services and always brought snacks. But this story isn't really about them. It's about a night when I realized the world could flip on you without warning. A night when the parking lot lights felt too dim, when the air felt heavy, and when a stranger changed how I looked at quiet hours forever. It happened in late September, still hot out, but the evenings were finally cool enough to breathe. I remember clocking in that day and feeling weirdly tired. Riley nudged me by the time clock and said, "Bro, you look like you got hit by a semi." I laughed. Didn't sleep. Neighbor's dog kept barking. "Damn, dude, grab a Red Bull from Market. I'll pretend I didn't see you take it before you pay." That was typical Riley. Anyway, the shift started completely normal. I cleaned up stray carts near the entrance, helped an older lady load a giant air purifier into her SUV, and handled the usual chaos from the early evening rush. By 8 p.m., the parking lot was a mess. Carts everywhere, customers leaving, headlights flashing, random kids running around. But things changed after 9 p.m. Once that hour hits, a Target parking lot quiets down like someone turned the world's volume knob to low. It's peaceful in a way, but also kind of eerie, because you can't see into the dark edges where the streetlights don't reach. I didn't mind it though. The quiet made the job easier. That night, however, something felt off. I don't mean danger. I just mean something was weird in the air. Maybe I was tired, maybe I was overthinking, but I remember feeling like someone was watching me. It wasn't a strong feeling at first, just a small itch in the back of my head. I brushed it off. I kept working, dragging long rows of carts into the corral, stacking them, pushing them inside. Around 9:30, the cart machine, a motorized pusher we called the Mule, Straight up died on me. Battery gone. I groaned out loud. Perfect timing, man. Seriously. I went inside, signed the mule in to charge at the wall outlet, and went back out to finish the last hour manually. It sucked, but that's what I was paid for. Every time I walked through the automatic doors, I passed the little seating area near the old Target cafe. Our store still had the sign, even though the cafe had been closed for years. They used it for popcorn, sodas, and small snacks, but mostly it was just empty tables and chairs now. Dim, quiet, kind of depressing. Most people didn't pay attention to it at all. But on my third or fourth trip inside, that's when I noticed him, a man sitting alone at one of the corner tables. At first glance, nothing seemed unusual. Just a guy in a dark hoodie, head down, elbows on the table. But the cafe lights were off, which gave the whole area a weird shadowy feeling. The man didn't have a drink, didn't have a bag, didn't have anything. He was just sitting there. I remember slowing down as I walked by, not because I thought he was dangerous, but because it caught me off guard. He didn't look up at me, he didn't move. He just sat there like he'd been waiting for something that never came. I didn't think much of it then. People wander into Target all the time. Some sit at the cafe tables to rest. Some use it to charge phones. Some are just lonely. You see everything in retail. I went back out to the parking lot and kept working. But every single time I came back inside, he was still there. Same position, same posture, same downward stare. Eventually, I started feeling a little uneasy. Not scared, just suspicious. Something about the guy wasn't adding up. At one point, when I passed by, I glanced at him a little longer, and I swear he moved his eyes toward me without lifting his head. Just a small shift, a tiny flick. That's when I felt the first real chill. Still, I shook it off. By around 10:15, I had most of the carts taken care of. The parking lot was almost empty now. Just a few cars scattered near the entrance, and 2 employees taking smoke breaks near the side door. The air had gotten colder, the kind of dry desert. Night cold that creeps up fast. I went inside, grabbed a flatbed cart that someone had left at the check lanes, and started wheeling it to the back room. That was part of our closing routine. Get flats, baskets, random carts off the floor. While I was pushing the flatbed down the wide back hallway that leads to receiving, my mind drifted back to the cafe guy for a second. I wondered if he'd left already. I hoped he had. When I reached the back room, it was quiet. Not silent, but quiet in that industrial, echoing way that big storage rooms are. Pallets were stacked neatly, metal shelves lined the walls. I saw nobody around, so I slid the flatbed into its spot, clamped the safety bar, and turned around to head out. That's when I heard it. Footsteps. Light, slow, coming from behind me. I thought maybe it was one of the backroom guys, maybe Luis, who worked consumables, or Tom, who always listened to true crime podcasts and scared himself half to death. "Yo," I called out, but the footsteps stopped. I didn't like that. Not even a little. I stepped forward, glanced around the corner, and my heart dropped into my stomach. It was the man from the cafe. Same black jacket, same hood, same downward stare, except now his face was angled directly at me. We locked eyes for maybe half a second before he quickly pulled back behind the corner like he wasn't supposed to be seen. Instant adrenaline. He didn't work here. He wasn't supposed to be in the back. He had no reason to be anywhere past the employees only door. My throat tightened. Shit. I didn't go after him. I wasn't stupid. I backed out immediately and walked fast, almost jogged toward the front. My hands were shaking when I found the closing manager, Grant, near the service desk. Grant was a bigger guy, late 30s, calm attitude. Nothing rattled him. But I was definitely rattled. "Grant," I said, out of breath, "there's a dude in the back room who doesn't work here." He frowned. "Where?" "Receive," like literally the pallets area. He followed me in there. Grant didn't waste time. Show me. We walked toward the back room together. I stayed slightly behind him, not gonna lie. At that point, I wasn't trying to prove anything. When we reached the door to receiving, everything felt wrong. Too quiet. Too still. We stepped inside. I pointed toward the aisle where I saw him slip away. He went that way. Grant nodded and said loudly, "Sir, you can't be back here. This area's for employees only." We waited. Nothing. We walked farther. The shelves in the back room are tall, much taller than the ones on the sales floor, and they create these narrow aisles that feel claustrophobic at night. When we reached one of the middle aisles, we both heard movement, like someone shifting their weight. Grant held up his hand for me to stay back. "Sir," he called out again, "you need to come out where we can see you." That's when the man's voice came from the shadows. Low, cold, steady. "Don't come closer," he said. "I got a gun." I froze. Grant froze. The entire world froze. Grant kept his voice calm. "Okay, we're not moving. Just talk to me for a second." The man didn't respond. We couldn't see him clearly, just a faint outline between the metal shelving. My heart was slamming so hard I felt it in my palms. Grant whispered to me without turning his head, "Walk backward, slow." I did exactly that. We didn't run until we hit the hallway, and then we ran. Grant grabbed his walkie and shouted into it, "Code Black, evacuate the store now. Lock all exterior doors. Everyone out, now." Employees moved fast. Shoppers were rushed out. The entire building emptied in under 2 minutes. I found myself outside in the parking lot, standing near the cart corral with shaking hands. Police arrived within minutes. 4 cruisers, then 2 more. Officers went inside with guns drawn. We all waited outside. Me, Grant, a handful of employees, and the last few customers who had been checking out. It took the cops maybe 20 minutes to find him. When they brought him out, he looked different, like a shadow peeled into a person. He didn't fight. He didn't yell. He didn't look at anyone. The officers said he didn't have a gun at all. I asked one of them quietly, "Why would he threaten us then?" The officer shook his head. "People say things when they're desperate. You did the right thing backing off." They never told us why he was in the back room. They never told us what he wanted. They never told us what led him into the cafe area or why he followed me. All I know is that he'd been watching, waiting, moving through the store in ways no normal shopper would. And sometimes, even now, years later, when I'm in a quiet place, when the lights feel too dim and the air feels too thin, I think about the way he looked at me in the back room, like he already knew exactly where I was going to be, like I wasn't just some random cart guy, like I was the one he had been waiting for.